You can keep believing in the dream God has given you, no matter how bad life gets, if you believe that God is still good and can still pull off your dream, even though it seems impossible that it can come about. You got to wonder if he's thinking, last time I shared about a dream, I got myself in a pretty big mess here. But he still steps out of faith and he's still going to interpret the dream. He's not going to let it stop him from helping people. One of the dangers that can happen in our life is when God doesn't operate the way we thought he would operate, we get frustrated, disillusioned, and shut down on him. But a lot of times we've shut down on him and we're angry at him, not because our anger is justified, but because we have a wrong theology of who God is. And because we had an improper understanding of who he was, like, God would never let this kind of thing happen to me. Well, when that kind of thing happened to me, we get angry at that type of God that we created for ourselves that doesn't exist, that type of God that we tell ourselves would never let anything bad happen to us. When that's the kind of God that we fictitiously create in our mind and then something bad happens to us, well, guess what? Now we have an excuse to remain mad at God. But if we have to change our theology up to adjust our understanding of what happens in life to who God really is, there won't be room left for us to remain angry at God. So that's such a freeing posture to go from. When things happen in my life that are bad to me, somebody might rape somebody. Somebody might take somebody's life. Somebody might steal something from you. Somebody might fire you unexpectedly. When these types of things happen in your life, if you know that God is still good when these bad things happen, then you won't end up in a theological crisis on top of just your earthly crisis that you're in. So sometimes our false theology compounds our problems, where a proper theology will reduce our problems and keep us in a posture of trust with one who is trustworthy. And so with that said, Joseph understood this mistreatment, and this cupbearer and baker, they go to bed, they have these dreams, and they wake up, and they're troubled by the dreams, right? And so they dream, they're troubled, and it says, verse 6, when Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw they were troubled. He asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody, "Why are your faces downcast?" They said, "We've had dreams, and there's no one to interpret them." And Joseph said, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me." Now here's something very powerful. Think about all the mistreatment that Joseph has incurred. And what does he say? Do not interpretations belong to God? Wait, aren't you the one that woke up and interpreted your dream 11 years ago? And that dream caused all these problems for you? And you just said, don't interpretations belong to God? Is there something hidden in there letting us know he still believes in the two dreams that God gave him to pull off? You know what I'm saying? Like he still hasn't given up on God. Do not interpretations belong to God? Hey, I'll give it to you because God gave me a couple dreams 11 years ago, and I know the interpretation of my dreams. And a lot of bad things have happened to me. But see, you can keep believing in the dream God has given you, no matter how bad life gets, if you believe that God is still good and can still pull off your dream, even though it seems impossible that it can come about. In fact, that's just what God does in our life a lot of times. He gives us a big dream that he holds out in front of us. We set out to pursue it. We get utterly disillusioned with life. And then from that place where it appears to be impossible to pull this dream off, he'll come and he'll pluck you out and you'll be like, how in the heck did this happen? Like guaranteed, Joseph's brothers are going to bow before him someday. That is not the route he was thinking when he woke up that morning, that this is going to take place hundreds of miles away, through all kinds of mistreatment, through all kinds of pain. Had he interpreted bad things happening to him means God must be bad, he never would have been raised up in the way that he was. Keep your theology intact when you hurt, when you bleed, when you suffer, when mistreatment comes your way. It'll serve you well. And so, verse 9, so the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, there was a vine before me, and on the vine there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. Then Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation. Now, how cool would that be, right? Now, tell me your dream, right? That's kind of what it feels like being married to my wife. I call her the oracle. Like, I don't feel like I have the privacy of my own thought life. I feel like she sees everything that I'm thinking and feeling, and frankly, it makes me uncomfortable because I don't feel like I can keep the kind of secrets that I would like from her, right? It's really messed this up, so she can just see. Now, I'm kidding. I don't have like a desire to keep a lot of secrets, but it would be nice to come home at the end of the day and trick her. Little subterfuge from time to time. Like if I don't want to have a long conversation, but I don't feel good on my insides, I would love to be able to fake it. I'd love to be able to walk in and have her think I'm doing good, that nothing is going on inside of me that would warrant an extended conversation, right? Like let's get deep together and try to psychoanalyze your feelings right now, okay? But nevertheless, she's the oracle. She can interpret. So here, Joseph's like, give me that interpretation, right? Well, the 3 branches and the 3 days. So keep in mind, he's talking to the cupbearer. The 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office. And you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand as formerly when you were his cupbearer. Like that's, okay, good, because he woke up troubled by the dream. So it's like both woke up and thought they had nightmares, and one was a nightmare, as you're going to see, but one wasn't. So guess what? It's possible to think that you had a nightmare and it really wasn't a nightmare. It's also possible to think you had a good dream and it might not be a good dream. But nevertheless, let's not add more problems to the picture. And as we see, verse 14, what does Joseph say? Only remember me when it is well with you. And please do me the kindness to mention me to Pharaoh, and so get me out of this house. For I was indeed stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also I have done nothing that they should put me into the pit. So here he's put into the pit, right? Out there in, Shechem, sold as a slave, put in the pit again for being mistreated. And he's like, hey, remember me. So he interprets the dream for the cupbearer, and all he wants is his ticket out of here. Can you think of hope coming up in him? I mean, he was looking for his opportunity, right? He's like, here, look, this ministry here I'm doing, it's free. I don't want to charge anything, but bro, look, if you can hook me up, like you're about to get out of here, I'd like to get out of here too. And if you can remember me, that would be wonderful. And the dude's going to go and forget him, right? And that you just talk about yo, what's up with that? So another mistreatment's coming his way. He's going to be forgotten, right? And it's going to be really tempting, you would think, when you feel forgotten to think, well, God, have you forgotten me? Like, what's with this dream that I'm supposed to have coming true, coming my way? Okay, so let's keep reading together. Verse 16, when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was favorable, he said to Joseph, I also had a dream. And he just starts spilling it, right? Joseph wasn't like, hey, tell me it. Like if I'm Joseph, I'd probably have been like, bro, you sure you want me to kind of assist you in, untangling some of the cryptic message of this dream? He just goes into it. Why? Well, what's favorable for him must be favorable for me. That's a wrong thing to do in life. Don't assume what happens to someone else is going to happen to us. Because what happened to this brother is not going to be what's going to happen to this brother. This dude's hosed, the other one was okay. So let's see how he really did have a nightmare. Well, we keep reading. I also had a dream. There were 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket, there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating it out of the basket on my head. I'd probably be uncomfortable in my dream at that stage too, okay? Just want to acknowledge that's an area. I might be like, I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm not sure what this means here. And so with this, we keep reading. And as we keep reading, Joseph answered in verse 18, this is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you and hang you on a tree. Okay, this is also the direct approach, right? This is what's going to happen. Now, you would like to think that there would be like some softening. I don't know, like Joseph obviously probably wasn't the most pastoral in the way he handled this, right? I remember one time when I was younger and I get a phone call early on in the ministry, and one of my good friends was killed in a car accident. You know how I found out? A guy, a country boy, man, this guy was just country through and through. He calls up. I wasn't there. He said, hey, Bobby, this is so-and-so. Yeah, Thomas is dead. He was killed in a car accident. Give me a call when you get a chance. Right? I mean, just totally throws you off, like lays it on you like that. What is going on? But Joseph, he's just like, here's the interpretation. You know what? I got to respect about Joseph is he didn't seek to mince words. He didn't try to add any words. He's like, this is the bare, naked truth of God. You know, a lot of people, we can water down the word of God to make it palpable for people, to make it digestible. He's like, here, you want to know what the dream is? You told me. Here it is. You're dead in 3 days. The birds are going to be snacking on your skull for feed. That is a hard truth to deliver that we could read right over that and just miss what Joseph just did. He's like, this is the word. Like, it would be tempting to go, bro, the news isn't good. And I don't know how to break this to you. It's bad. Really bad. You're going to die, right? This is the kind of situation we're in.